Marissa scores! There's scenes here at Perry Park!
Chris Lynn has taken the wild thing and sent him.
Oh, Bateman! Bateman!
Howdy, Will, and
Howdy. You're thinking there. You're going, okay, what should I say? Howdy. How's everyone going?
Yeah, I mean, it was worth the shot.
It was disgraceful. I hated it. I've just got to say, mate, you've got to really think before you say stuff like that.
Sorry. Well,
I think my
there we
cough
go.
made it better. My cough made it better.
I think your cough did make it better. Anyway, welcome back, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Beyond the Sidelines. What an epic week we had this week, boys. Not a whole lot in the news, but we're going to clutch at straws for stories.
Yes.
There's lots of interesting things this week. Should we kick it straight off with a fast five? Actually, firstly, boys, how are you?
I'm pretty good. I've had a pretty uneventful week, if I'm going to be
Tell
honest.
us about it, Gussie.
Well, it's UQ assessment week, boys.
No.
If you're
I
unaware.
know all about it.
Gussie,
Finn is.
Gussie, I mean, tell us about it, mate. How was Monday?
Oh,
what
right.
did you
Okay. Right. I had a.
Finn, how's Japan?
Japan's pretty cool.
All right, cool. We'll get into that later.
That's great.
Yeah.
Thanks,
I'll
Campbell.
cut you off. No, tell us about it.
I'd ask you how you are, but I just don't really care at the moment because you're being a bit mean and a bit confrontational. So good on
Guys,
you.
what did we put in the water before this? Recording?
No spicy waters. No spicy waters.
No spicy waters.
Why are we
spicy
being
water.
so mean to each other?
Yeah, boys, let's just shake hands and get over it. Are you going to shake hands
No, I'm
properly
not
this
shaking.
time?
I'm not shaking your hand, mate.
Guys,
That was embarrassing
we're very
last time.
professional.
Exactly.
Yeah, that was embarrassing last time. Gussie, you don't shake with your left hand.
It was very odd.
I have been thinking about it because
It's
I'm
been
pretty
keeping me up at
disappointed.
night, honestly.
I've been, considering our friendship and
Oh,
our
jeez.
chin.
professional relationship. 'Cause
All over a
professional.
handshake, mate?
Oh, it's so much more than that, Gussie. Jeez, mate. Anyway,
Okay.
fast five, please. Fast
Yeah, well,
five.
firstly, boys, we are at the UQ Duck Cemetery, the St. Lucia Duck Cemetery,
paying our respects.
paying our respects to those we've lost in the past.
Yeah.
Let's kick it off. I've actually got a timer up this week, boys. I know, pretty good. Here we go. First off, fast five. Do Australia need to rebuild? The Wallabies we're talking about here. Do they need to rebuild, potentially?
Well, do you think they hit their peak in the World Cup this year?
Oh, no.
Do you think that was good enough?
Certainly not. Far from it.
No.
I think that performance against England, I think Gussie used this word, it was embarrassing.
Yep.
They could have lost by more. That being said, England probably weren't up to scratch as well. And not many people are saying that. But yeah, Australia, mate, they need a culture rebuild. New Zealand did a similar thing after 2007 when they got knocked out at the quarterfinals as well. And, they had a long, hard think about what they were going to do going forward.
Well,
Australia, they need that, mate. They need that.
Yeah. I noticed England scored a lot of tries off Australian mistakes.
Yeah.
That was a big thing in that game. There was intercept passes, knock-ons. It was just a shocking performance. And there needs to be some changes in that squad.
They really weren't ready. Honestly, they just weren't ready for it.
The shining light though was Jordan Petaia.
He did play well.
He played very well. I think he was probably the best Australian on the paddock, or pretty well close to it. So the future's bright, but they need to do it the right way.
Certainly. Anyway, we've got to move on. Second one, Gussie, I'll let you take this one away. But what is with this? What even is it? This cricket technology?
Well, it is called the smash factor. So it pretty much judges how well you hit the ball as a batsman. So it takes in the factor, like swing factor, like how well it comes off the bat, like vibrations. It's some new technology they put into the batsman's bat.
Yeah.
And
What's the point?
Well, yeah. What is the point of this? Is it just
I
stat
guess
tracking, like who hits the hardest? Blah 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 blah.
I think that's got something to do with it. How well the batsman hits the ball.
So
I think that's a big thing as well.
Do you think this will be used for recruiting and things like that?
It could be used for that, or could also be used for limitations on bats, how they're
Densities
made.
and stuff like that.
Yeah, the densities.
Anyway, we got to move on. Secondly, we have thirdly, should I say, what is the point of the nines? Gussie, I'm not the biggest fan of this. I didn't even really pay attention to it.
The Nines World Cup. It was. I didn't watch a lot of it either, and I'm a big rugby league fan. It was.
Are you?
It was. Yeah.
Could never tell.
Oh yeah. Look, it was. It didn't have me very excited. If I'm going to
It's
be
not a
honest.
World Cup.
It's
not a World Cup.
It's Australia versus the others.
It's Australia. It's Australia versus the players who don't make Australia.
Yeah.
And that's what annoys me because you can't call that a World Cup.
I mean, to be fair, there are a few more teams in this World Cup. There were the USA was there. You've got Wales there. You've got France, Lebanon. You've got plenty of sides.
Pardon me. What is Lebanon going to do against Australia? What bloody hell?
They beat England.
Did they actually?
Yeah. Well,
I take
they
it
beat
back.
England.
Good stuff, Lebanon.
There you go, mate.
Congrats.
they have some.
Wash your mouth out.
They have some quality players in that competition. But yeah, look, you're never going to get past Australia and New Zealand.
Of course not. Of course not.
To me, just before we wrap up,
Yes.
Australia made this competition, or the NRL did, picked the best players, won it, and they're now calling themselves world champions.
Yeah.
And it doesn't feel like it at all.
It stinks a little bit. Anyway, boys, biggest probably story of the week, one of at least. Who's going to replace Michael Checker? So he stood down or resigned after the game this weekend. Who's going to replace him? Do we have any names?
I think that the leading candidate is Dave Rennie.
Mhm.
He coached at the Chiefs when they won in 2012. He's currently over in Glasgow. He's a Kiwi, but I think he might have to suck up his pride a bit if he wants to coach at the top level. Great players, great talent pool coming through with Australia, so I think he'll be excited about that. Other candidates, I guess, Stephen Larkham.
Mm-hmm.
He was a bit of a scapegoat for Checker, I think last year or the year before, where he got the boot. But of course, Australian rugby legend, so I think the Australian public might like to see that. But the other name that I want to toss up is Scott Robertson. He's the head coach of the Crusaders. He's been coaching for 3 years, 3 Super Rugby titles. If he's not coaching the All Blacks next year, waltzing Matilda.
Look, I don't mind bringing a Kiwi in as long as they change it or
Exactly.
fix it up.
Make us play like the Kiwis, please.
Exactly.
To be a Test team and succeed, like it's history shown, you pretty much need a New Zealand coach. That's a fact. I think
That's a fact.
Unbiased fact.
Yeah.
I'm biased, no, but you look at the top 4 teams at the World Cup now. I think 2 of the top 4 are coached by Kiwis, and John Mitchell, he's the assistant coach of England. He's a Kiwi.
Jamie Joseph as well.
Jamie Joseph of the Cherry Blossoms. So
Mm-hmm.
I guess we'll see.
Indeed. Anyway, time on that one. AFLW draft. We had it this weekend, boys. We had it over the past week. Richmond did something interesting. They drafted with pick 96 Lauren Tesoriero. We're not going to pronounce this one correctly. It's a bit of a tough one. She was previously the recruitment boss for the Richmond Football Club. And she got drafted by her own team.
Yeah, I'm just a bit confused. Are there any rules about that? Whether you can draft within your own
I think it's fine
staff?
because you can have players as staff as well, right? So I think
Yeah.
it must
But
be fine.
So she literally was the recruiting staff that recruited herself.
Yeah, but she was playing for the VFLW side already.
Okay.
But she just wasn't getting paid enough, and she
Alright,
had the role
okay.
of... She was working in a role at the club, and they
mean,
you know what?
yeah,
You're ready
fair-
to play AFLW.
If she's good enough, then
Yep.
all for it. You know?
Exactly,
Well,
exactly.
She played 2 seasons at Collingwood in the AFLW, but she got delisted. So, I mean, she's got that experience. But I think you shouldn't be the head of recruiting when you're nominated for the draft.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That, to me, it's almost unprofessional.
Almost insider kind of trading kind of vibes with it, you reckon?
It is. It's nothing, illegal,
No.
I guess, in sporting terms. But it's just, it doesn't scream professionalism. But,
It's just a bit
I
weird.
think the Tigers in their first year, I think, they've got themselves a good pick, I think. So,
Definitely, definitely.
we'll
Anyway,
see.
boys, that's time on that one. We had an awesome interview this week. It was actually our first phone interview
Yeah.
of this whole podcast situation. Finn, you obviously weren't here for it.
I didn't listen to it, so I'm
You
really
haven't
looking
listened to
forward I'm really looking forward to the next 20 minutes, and just like everyone at home, I'll be sitting down and listening to it. So let's get cracking.
Exactly. Well, Gus, who did we interview this week?
Well, we had Amanda Ross, right? So she is a brilliant hockey player. She's played for Australia. She
Australian
plays
Country
in
Women's.
Australian Country Women's. She
Mhm.
plays for Newtown.
Yeah,
in
she's
the
toured
Toowoomba.
Asia with
Yeah.
the Australian Country Women. She's played for Queensland. She's a coach as well. She coaches the under 16s, I want to say, for the women,
She also carried the baton at the
Yes.
Commonwealth Games.
which is awesome,
Amazing.
amazing.
And
We
you
can
can
get the next shout for it.
Well, we're actually telling them everything right now, and
Exactly.
they won't
Let's
listen to
let
the
her
interview.
talk about it. Let's hear her talk about it. You can listen to it here. So we're currently joined by Amanda Ross of the Newtown Tigers out in Toowoomba, and you've previously represented Queensland and Australia Country Women's. How are you?
I'm great, thank you.
Great to hear. So we'll kick it off. How was carrying the baton for the Commonwealth Games?
It was an amazing experience. It wasn't something that I ever thought I would get to do in my career, especially hockey career. But it was a great experience and an absolute privilege to be able to do it.
What is hockey like as a sport? Can you tell us a bit more about it?
Hockey as a sport, it's probably not as well known as some of the other major sports in Australia, but it's a very physical and sometimes brutal sport. If you do get injured, it's usually from an impact injury with a hockey ball, flying at you at some like 100 kilometres an hour. Sometimes if it's the men, not so much the women, but it's still a very hard ball coming at you quite quickly.
For sure. And why do you think it's potentially not as popular than other sports? Is there a reason by any chance, you think?
I believe because we don't have the visibility on TV like most sports. It's not funded as much as, say, rugby league and netball, as it's a hard sport probably to telecast just based on the length of the game and how the halves are split up. But in recent times, we've just gone to quarters now, so 15-minute quarters, which is easier to televise
Certainly.
now more so than previous years.
Well, what do you think is special about hockey that's different to other sports?
I think hockey's special because it's a sport that the whole family can play. We have competitions up to Masters, which is 75 years and above. So you can start when you're 6 and 7 and go right through until you're 75. So it's a sport you can play for a long time, and the whole family can get involved into it as well.
Fantastic. And you currently play for the Newtown Tigers. How's that?
I love it. I've been there for close to 18, 19 years now.
Wow.
It's an amazing club to be a part of, and it's also very family orientated, and they look after us very well there at Newtown. So I'm absolutely happy and stoked to be a part of Newtown.
And you play in the Toowoomba Hockey Women's Premiership for the Tigers. What's this competition like?
It's a high-level competition. It's probably not as high level as Brisbane, as most of our players do head to Brisbane once they've sort of reached 18. But it is still a high-level competition, and we won it in 2015 on shootouts, as they're now called, instead of strokes. And it was very nail-biting, and thankfully I was the one that actually won it for the team.
Oh, brilliant.
How was that?
Yeah, it was nail-biting at the time, and it's one of those things that it's a hard way to lose as a team, but it's great for the crowd as well because it gets the crowd involved more.
A little bit nervous?
Oh, 100%. It was nerve-wracking.
Yeah. And how does this competition compare to the Super League competition?
So Super League is a combined competition, combined as in cities are combined together. So our region is the Southwest region, which is Toowoomba, Ipswich and Warwick. So it's the best players from those regions, and they form one team. And then they go into a competition in long weekend of May against Brisbane, Gold Coast, and then there's some northern states as well that they combine. So the 6 regions come together for a weekend of hockey and compete against each other there.
And how are those weekends of hockey?
Extremely tough, difficult and hot.
Yeah, I was about to say hot and long.
Yeah, we usually play 2 games a day. So one in the morning and one in the afternoon, and each game is about 70 minutes. So it's quite brutal and quite taxing on the body, but it's meant to be the best of the best. So that's what it's aimed for.
For sure. And for Newtown, I believe you coach for them at some level.
Yes. So
How's
I
that?
do coach the reserved grade for the Newtown women's team, and we won it this year. So we're premiers for
fantastic.
2019.
Congratulations.
Brilliant.
Thank you. Yeah.
No problem. And for Queensland, would you like to talk about your representation for Queensland?
Sure. So I've currently represented the Queensland country team for 7 consecutive years. I think I've played about 49 games for Queensland nearly at my 50 if I go away next year. I also coach for the Queensland as well. I'm the assistant coach for the under 13 ladies team that went away to Hobart just recently. With that competition, we send 2 teams away, and we came second with the other Queensland team coming first.
Oh, fantastic. And how do you find coaching those under 13s?
A lot different to coaching adults.
I can imagine.
But it's great. It's good to be able to give back to the sport from once when we were 13, giving back to those that helped us when we were that age. It's just an honour and privilege again to be a part of the system.
And
Definitely.
the Queensland women's side you're a part of won 3 country championships in a row. What do you put that down to?
Good selection.
Yeah.
We are a great team, and we have, because it's regional Queensland, there's a lot of talent in the regions that get looked over for the main Queensland team. So it's a good way of getting older players together, showing the talent and showcasing the regional sport for hockey.
Certainly. And are there any kind of tactics you implement when coaching under 13s that's different to maybe adults?
With the under 13 team, it's more about the basics, learning hockey, getting the basics right. Whereas with the older senior teams, it's more about tactics and not so much skill based. So making sure we have our tactics right, looking at structures of other teams. Whereas under 13s, it's just about passing properly, trapping properly, hitting properly. And if you get those foundations right at 13, it's pretty easy to move ranks.
What's the mental game like in hockey?
It plays a large part, especially when it comes to playing in heat or with injuries. And especially if you've got to concentrate for 70 minutes in the heat, it does get a bit tough. But as a team, it's easier to concentrate in the mental side of it because you do have your teammates beside you helping you if you do feel a bit down as well.
Now, you also represented Australian country and went on a tour of Asia in 2017 where you went undefeated and didn't concede a single goal. What was the atmosphere like in that side?
The Australian country team was amazing. I've been lucky to represent that for 4 years, but the last year we went away when we were in Vietnam and Hong Kong. The facilities are amazing in Hong Kong. The team that we went away with was super talented, and we had a very solid defensive unit, which I'm a part of. I'm a defender. And we did make it a goal of ours to try and keep the thing out of the thing, is what we like to call it.
Lots of clean sheets.
Keeping it simple.
Yeah. Keeping it simple. Just a lot of communication and talking to one another on and off the field to make sure we're doing what we need to be doing when we need to be doing it.
And is communication the most important thing, or are there other aspects of defending that you spend a lot of time focusing on?
Communication is a big thing, because if you can get your players around you to do their job, it makes your job a lot easier. But also just, I guess, listening as well to the calls that happening around you to make sure that you're doing your job as well as helping others do theirs. And
with the coaching, what do you instill in individual players? What do you think is the most important aspect of an individual's game?
To know your role and to do your role. You can't help others on the field if you don't know your role or not doing your role. So I find that one of the biggest things that I tell all of my players is do your role first and then help the people around you. Because if you are out of position or not doing what you need to be doing, it's hard to help everybody else around you.
And is there one thing, probably other than communication, that forms a good defense, a championship defense?
Positioning, knowing the positions, and also probably reading the game ahead of time, knowing, sort of looking forward to what's going to happen next.
Anticipation.
And being, absolutely, and being proactive rather than reactive to what's happening in front of you.
For sure.
And when you're overseas in Asia, are there any crowds? Do many people turn out to watch the hockey over in Asia?
When we were in Singapore, we played the under 21 national team, which we drew the series with them, and they had a lot of support come out and watch them as well. and Hong Kong was the same. So the Hong Kong facility is in the middle of the racetrack in Hong Kong.
Wow.
So there's a lot of people, around. So they all were coming out and watching. And Malaysia as well. Malaysia was big on hockey, and we beat the national Malaysian team in when we were over there.
Fantastic.
And they had a massive turnout as well.
And so I assume you're from Toowoomba.
Yes.
How do you go from a local Toowoomba girl to playing in Australia? What was that pathway system like for you with Newtown and onwards?
So I started playing hockey obviously when I was young, but between the ages of 15 and 25, I didn't make any representative teams. I sort of just focused on playing for Newtown across those years and just enjoying my hockey. In about 2012, I was lucky enough to be a part of the Toowoomba team, which we won. Oh, I think we actually might have come second that year, but I was lucky enough to be selected in the Queensland country team from that. And in the same year, I made the Australian country team. So in 12 months, I'd made 3 representative teams just from going from nothing to being a part of those teams. So it was just not expecting to be a part of the team. I think, don't play to be a part of a team, play your own game, and then all the rewards will come after that.
And do you think any improvements need to be made on the pathway system in Australia, or do you think it's good as it is?
I could probably only really speak for Queensland as much, but I think there needs to be more recognition of our regional centres than just Brisbane. A lot of our great players go unrecognised because they don't have the pathways to go to Brisbane or the money to afford to live in Brisbane or relocate. So some additional funding and even just exposure of regional hockey, which is why I think the country system needs to be more visualised out there, more promoted a lot more so that other people get the opportunities that the city folk get as well.
Definitely. And you mentioned that you didn't make a representative side from, I think it was 15 to 25. How does that play? I'm assuming you didn't think you'd potentially ever make a representative side if you're at 25. Maybe you do think that. But how does that change for you once you do? How's the shift in mindset then?
I probably wasn't really interested in making a representative team between that 10-year period. But when you did, then you sort of get the hunger for it more than what I had. And sometimes I think maybe I might have missed the boat a little bit and I could have probably maybe represented the actual Australian team maybe. But in saying that too, I don't regret any of the pathways that I've taken in my representative career, as I've made some great friends out of it. But I think mentally, if I had known of the opportunities prior to that, might have changed, but 100% happy with how it's all worked out now.
Definitely. And what's a tour of Asia like? Is it good fun, I assume?
It's a lot of fun, except the getting on and off buses is a little bit tiring.
I can imagine.
Going from each city, like when we were in Singapore, we went to Singapore, then we went to Malaysia, and I think there was like 4 or 5 stops in Malaysia, and then I had to get back to Kuala Lumpur. So it's very tiring, but it's a lot of fun. You get to see multiple countries. I think I've seen more countries with hockey than I have just in normal everyday life. So it's just a great opportunity to be able to travel as well.
Are there any funny stories from your trips to Asia?
When we were in Vietnam was probably the funniest experience we've had with like people carrying fridges on their mopeds. And they had like a guy was traveling with like all those Siamese fighting fish just packed over his moped, and seeing a family of 4 just driving down the highway.
Oh, you forget about the 2 chickens. You forget about the 2 chickens and the dog as well.
Yeah, that was on the one beside him. No, it's just hilarious, and they beep to indicate.
Yeah.
And so we were all like freaking out, going, "Why were you being abused?" And we weren't. It was just how they indicate. And we were like, "Oh, like it's just a culture shock. Those sort of things as well."
It's different. Hey, it's more of like a "Hey, I'm here," rather than a "What are you doing, you idiot?" Well, like it is.
Yeah, like get out of my way. Yeah.
I don't think there's much focus on road rules.
No.
Have you ever tried crossing a street in a place like Thailand? Yeah, it's insane.
Well, that's what they said to us. They said, when you cross the street, just keep walking. Don't stop. Don't bother about lights. They'll go around you.
Yeah.
And for the first day or two, we're like, no, surely not. You can't be serious. And then by that last day, we were just like walking out. The only bad thing was with that though was when we went to Hong Kong, we thought we could do the same thing, and
Ooh.
no. They have actual lights and stuff there. So that was a bit of we had to change our mindset pretty quickly.
I assume it's quite different to Toowoomba and all the regional towns everyone's from.
Oh, yeah. I do think that Toowoomba has some of the best facilities across Queensland, even some of the other states that I've been to, but it's very different to Vietnam, where they had turf fields, but we were pulling grass out of the turf fields before we could play on it.
Oh, really?
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Very interesting. Very
And
interesting.
I assume the conditions were different as well. How do you find playing in more humidity?
It's tough. I guess coming from Toowoomba, it's not too bad because we live up a mountain, so it's generally a lot hotter here. So during our training sessions, we were training during the day, but when we were in Singapore, we would have to weigh ourselves before and after a game so that we could see how much weight we lost.
Oh, wow.
In water weight. Yeah, and then we'd have to drink that same amount in water before we were allowed to play again. So it was very strictly monitored just based on humidity.
I was about to say, was there different conditioning or anything like that you had to do?
They did recommend us doing a lot of daytime fitness if we could, like mid-afternoon if we could, just with the heat, just so that we could be prepared for anything that we'd have to be playing in over in Singapore.
Fantastic. And what's next for you?
I'm not 100% sure. I am currently doing my level 3 coaching accreditation. So technically I could potentially coach Australia going forward.
Wow.
But it's more just about my own development and bringing back the information I have to Newtown and any other Queensland teams or Toowoomba teams that I might be lucky enough to coach.
Well, thank you very much, Amanda. We wish you all the best with that. Hopefully we see you coaching Australia one day. That would be amazing.
That would be
Hopefully.
awesome.
Fingers
Yeah.
crossed. Well, thank you very much. Thanks for coming on.
No worries. Thank you so much for having me.
How good was that, boys?
Oh, it's unreal.
I mean, Finn hasn't heard it yet, but
Yeah, it was either very funny or very sad. I don't know because I've got.
it's very funny. It
didn't
was a
listen
funny
to it.
one.
How about you
There you
guess? How about you guess, Finn?
There you go.
I did. I said,
Finn, what
It
was
was
it
funny.
I
like?
said funny. I said funny or sad, and I got it. So
Bit of
Yeah,
both.
we had a bit of fun talking about travels in Asia, which was cool.
Yeah.
I wish we could travel for sport or for this. Aye, aye.
Aye.
Well, Finn is travelling for this, not for this, but is travelling.
Maybe there's more travelling on the horizon.
Oi, oi.
one day, mate. One day, we'll see.
Maybe next 2 semesters. Eyes peeled. Anyway, we're going to kick it straight off. NRL 9s, Gus. Let's talk about some... You can't go a week without talking about a bit of rugby league.
Oh, I can't stop. It's the greatest sport
Game.
of all.
Best game of all, dude. I'll say it again. It's not a sport.
What are other sports?
If you say foot golf,
Foot
one
golf
more time.
and 3, 2, 1. Pole dancing.
Oh, okay. Right.
There's both of them. No, and Gussie, until there's an official revote, rugby league will always be a game. That's it. That's the reality. That's,
All right, mate.
That's where we sit.
You can live in your
No,
fairyland. I'm living in reality.
That's the
here,
most
all
league
right?
thing I've ever heard. You can sit in your fairyland and I'll sit in me reality.
Well, I didn't speak like that, mate.
And I'll
Go the Sharkies.
and I'll go to Lane
Go
Park
ScoMo
and have the
Sharkies.
4X.
Yeah, all right.
ScoMo Sharkies.
Think of
Okay.
Milton Mango.
Live
Can
from
I
the
please
Shire.
continue?
Yes, go.
All right.
If you must.
Okay, so the
Actually,
NRL...
wait. Who's the most, bogan or the most, I don't know, the weirdest fan base in rugby league? What's your pick?
Oh,
Ooh.
mate, Cronulla is up there. They are
Westies?
They are pretty...
Westies.
Oh,
Any
Canterbury.
Westies, mate.
Canterbury.
Or Canterbury.
Canterbury?
Yeah. You don't
I
want to
don't
be
know.
a Canterbury on a losing night. Might be a bit dangerous.
Anyway, move on.
Right.
To be fair though, don't they play at the Olympic Stadium? Or they play? Is that ANZ?
Or sometimes they
Yeah.
play at Banks. What's it called? Bankstown, not Bankstown.
Bank West.
Campbelltown.
No, they don't.
No, Campbelltown. No,
Anyway, continue. Doesn't matter.
I forgot the name.
Anyway,
I think it is.
Anyway.
thanks.
Anyway,
slight detour.
The NRL Nines competition is heading to Perth, boys. 2020. It's a reinstallment of this competition. Of course, it was cancelled after 2017. The Auckland Nines. The Auckland Nines. 2017.
Well done.
The Roosters took out the last Nines competition, and now it's heading to Perth. What do we think about that, boys?
everyone's pushing Perth as a destination for sport at the moment.
It's like when rugby moved out of town, someone had to move in.
Yeah.
Obviously, other than cricket and AFL and football. But yeah, it's bizarre. Why target Perth? It's so far away from rugby league heartland in New South Wales.
Yeah, exactly. But you did mention something. You mentioned that the people do come out in Perth for these kind of events.
Yeah, but it's different. And we were speaking off air about it, but about like State of Origin and how that got a sellout.
Yeah.
It's a standalone big event in Australia.
And it is it's State of Origin.
If that comes to your town, you're gonna go.
Yeah.
But like Perth fans, they're not going to travel 5 hours to go see two states that don't care about play. It's the interest factor. But I think what we'll start to see, especially if it's in Perth year after year, is these crowds will get slightly smaller and smaller until there's a big dip.
It'll be just like what happened in Auckland, I believe.
We'll
have strong crowds at the start, and they'll begin to dwindle, and maybe 2 or 3 years in, they'll probably cut it. Look, they've got the money behind it. The prize money for this competition is $500,000 for the winner.
Isn't it? I thought it was $1 million. I thought it was a David Fafita.
No, I think it's how it works is you win about $1 million in total prize money if you take out the Auckland Nines and if you take out the NRL Premiership. So you win around $1 million worth of prize money if you win both of them.
Players do.
Oh, okay.
The club does. So it
gives
the
players, mate. All the players get $1 million.
All the players get
$1 million. I was like, what?
It gives more of
Campbell was just sitting there. He was sitting there going, maybe I should take up league.
Yeah, I know. Look at my frame. I'm built for it.
It's not too late.
No, my career.
I'm sorry, boys. I'm going to go for a run.
I'm going to do the rest of the podcast on a treadmill, boys.
Cheeky 2K.
Cheeky 2K.
I'm not fitting up for 3.
So, anyway, continue.
Sports.
Anyway, yeah. All right. You finished, mate? Okay.
Yeah.
Right. So this prize money is used as an incentive so that the good quality players compete in this Nines competition because the Auckland Nines, you saw decent players, but God, even Freddie Fittler was playing in the Auckland
it was
Nines
more
a few years ago.
The whole thing, it was a pre-season event for starters.
Yeah, exactly.
So teams didn't really want to risk their top players when they weren't getting anything in return. But yeah, as you mentioned, Freddie, he shows that it was more of a gimmick than anything else.
Yeah.
Because they had the Nines, and then all the clubs had 3 pre-season matches just like every other year.
Yeah.
So Campbell, it was just like the glorious AFLX that I'm sure you love AFL to bring back.
Nothing better than playing AFL on a rectangle.
Yeah.
With bonus points from distance. Oh, jeez, don't remind me.
It just doesn't get better. So yeah, I don't think this will be enough for teams to want to send their top players though.
Although the one thing I did like about the AFLX is seeing different players play with each other. I thought that was really cool.
Like the draft system, I like that. But rugby league hasn't adopted that. Rugby league, it's the 16 clubs and the 4 NRLW sides who are participating.
Yeah.
So it's going to be pretty standard and pretty similar to what you see every during the season.
Exactly.
It's a good way to show off some young talent as well. That's what the Nines and a lot of the preseason stuff is there for.
Tommy Gilbert?
It's not all that bad. Yeah, we could see Tommy Gilbert. I don't know if he's built for Nines. I'm
sure he'd give it a go.
Yeah, I'm sure he would. But most forwards aren't, the best Nines players.
That's the thing though, mate. Like, young players aren't going to put bums on seats. That's another reality of this.
That's the thing. Yeah.
So the NRL think, sweet Perth untapped market. They loved Origin last year. You beauty. It's not going to necessarily be the same with the Nines.
Yeah.
Anyway.
But did we think the standard of play was more exciting, and engaging as a spectator? Was it more fun to watch Nines than regular?
No, I don't think so.
You don't
well,
think so?
that's just because I've been brought up on, the normal game.
League, true blue, mate.
But
if you ain't got 13 men on the bench.
they do it with a lot of other
Hard
sports.
men. It's a real game.
Do you want to let me
It's
finish?
not.
Game.
God,
Game. Keyword in that, mate. Glad you picked it up. Gussie, did you get it?
Yeah.
You can't
Yeah,
play
you
with a
said
team
game.
of centres. We've had this debate a lot of times.
Yeah.
So many times.
You
God.
could win with a team of centres,
Now I've
mate.
actually forgotten what I was going to say.
That's my theory. You could win with a team of centres. But anyway, that's for another day.
You should be
I
a coach, mate. You should be a coach. Why aren't you coaching?
I could. Mate,
Is there
here's
any
what every other-
vacancies?
every coach in the NRL goes, we'll run it up the middle for 4, then use our backs on 5 and kick on 6. Use with, sideline to sideline.
There's
Don't
no
use the middle
tactics.
channel.
Maybe you
There's
should.
no tactics.
Maybe it'd fit well into the Gold Coast Titans coaching staff.
Ooh.
Well, they could do worse than me, mate, and they have. So there you go.
Cop that. Anyway.
Right, we'll
moving
move on
on.
to the Rugby League internationals. We've got the round 1 beginning Friday. Junior Kangaroos taking on France. So this
France?
I want to France.
Le Bleu.
I want to
La
talk
bleu.
about. I want to talk about this Junior Kangaroo side. It is absolutely brimming with talent.
They're not very junior, though.
Well, it's up to it's
23.
between age 20 to 23. That's junior.
That's
like
not
that's
that junior.
Junior to me, though, and what junior used to be was 20 and younger.
Yeah.
So it used to be the players who were playing the Holden Cup, as it was, Gutty. They used to kit up
Yeah.
to the Junior Kangaroos and play against their NRL or Holden Cup opponents in the
Yeah.
black jersey. But now it's, you'll mention the players, but it seems a bit of too much of a pathway or something. It seems a bit weird.
Yeah. Look, these guys aren't young. They're not.
They are
like,
young,
No
but-
need.
They're not as young as they
Yeah.
maybe should be for the competition.
Yeah. Well, there's plenty of talent in the side. Ryan Pappenhausen at fullback. The Churchy boys, a bit of a Churchy reunion.
Bit of Kalen.
Kalen Ponga and Brody Croft in the halves together in that Australian side.
Yeah, they'll be playing for Brisbane together in about 5 years, so don't worry.
Ooh.
Bold prediction there. From
Very
Finn.
bold.
We've got 5 members.
The Roosters will try and get him.
Mate, the Roosters are trying
Well,
to sign everyone in the NRL.
The Roosters, when
Not
someone
bad at all.
finally finds out about their salary cap situation, they'll be deducted points
Yeah.
for the next 6 years.
Have you seen
so it's gonna
Ozark?
Be, sorry, what was that?
Have you seen Ozark?
No, I haven't. Is it good? Would
Yeah,
you
it's
rate
about
it?
money laundering. It's just about, it's a it's a Sydney Roosters biography basically.
Have you seen Narcos?
No, that's the NRL documentary. Narcos.
Have you seen Wayne's World? No relation, just a great movie.
Yeah, right.
Okay, funny guy, Finn. All right, mate.
Also in this junior
Chief.
Kangaroo side is 5 members of the 2019 grand final. So we've got Corey Horsburgh, Angus Crichton, Victor Radley, Nat Butcher, and Emre Gula. So plenty of Roosters and Raiders representatives there.
But mate, we can talk about the juniors or we can talk about the big boys.
Yeah,
Big boys.
Look, I think
Benji.
that junior side could beat most of the
They
senior
could.
sides.
And why don't they do that? I think, International Rugby League, I think it's a bit of a shambles.
It's very boring.
It is. They could do
Coming
a lot
from
worse.
an AFL fan who has no internationals.
There are internationals.
Yes.
There's a World Cup every 4 years held at the MCG. Congratulations to Papua New Guinea, who are the reigning champions. And America and New Zealand, who both have amateur domestic competitions.
Jeez, you have no life, do you?
I don't, mate. I've been alone for so long. Ugh.
You're enjoying Japan, hey? Are we ready to move on?
Okay, sorry. Benji will be taking part in the test match against Australia. So Australia
Skipper.
versus New Zealand on Friday.
Mate, that's insane.
Skipper.
I don't understand because teams were talking about the NRL talking about he needs to retire, and now he's
Yeah.
captaining
Yeah.
the best team in international rugby league.
Well,
So good on him.
they're going back to
Best team.
2010 days, aren't they? Well,
They
before
are.
that, yeah.
2008
It reminds
Yeah,
me of
2008.
won us the World Cup.
Exactly.
Won the Four Nations in 2010.
Maybe they were like, we should go back to that model and try and replicate. I don't know.
Reminds me of collecting, the little footy cards that you did.
Tarzos.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
I
used to-
remember those.
I used to love them.
me
I got
too.
all
The
of them.
sticker book, the book.
I have
You have
3
those?
books. I have 3
Yeah.
of the books.
Yeah, they're the best.
And yeah, I was down in Sydney once, and I saw what are they called? Those army necklaces. What are they called?
Dog chain.
Dog chains, yeah. They were dog chains cards.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Whatever they're
cool.
called, yeah. And that for a 10-year-old, that was a must get.
10-year-old Finn. I
So,
once met David Campese in Sydney once.
Oh.
could you get him on or
Maybe get Campo on. Goosey.
get Kempo on?
Goosey.
Goosey.
And, of course, the last game of the first round is Tonga versus Great Britain. We'll see that Tongan forward pack against the Burgess boys, or however
Burgess
many
boys.
play. So that should be a great encounter, forwards-wise, because Tonga have some of the best forwards in the game.
I'm just gonna butt in quickly again. Do you want to be educated on the AFL, the Australian Football International Cup, or not? Like,
No, we're good. It's fine.
okay, that's
Well,
cool. Like,
seeing as I didn't even know it existed.
yeah. Well, inaugural season 2002. You know,
Exactly.
Papua New Guinea 3 titles. You know, it's
Powerhouse.
Jeez.
When's the next one? When's the next one?
I think the next one is 2021. So you can, 2021.
Let's
so,
head out, boys.
Exciting.
Field trip.
Quick, road trip to the G.
To
Could
the
be on the
G?
cards.
I could be a member at that stage. Who knows?
Yeah, mate. Okay.
Mel
How long
Boy.
have you been on the waiting list for?
Since I was
20
born.
years?
19,
Yeah.
nearly 20 years.
There you go.
Ideal.
Anyway, guys, we can talk about the AFL World Cup all day. Anyway.
Could we?
I think
Or-
we're going to start up a
Is
new
there- is there
podcast where we
money-
just talk about that.
Is there much content
yeah.
on the AFL World Cup?
There will
There's
be.
not.
There.
Mate, it's an untapped market.
Exactly.
Again,
Anyway,
we could talk about this all day, boys, or we could talk about Finn and Japan.
we can. Let's roll it.
Finn. F-I-N-N. Finn. Finn. F-I-N-N. Finn. Finn.
And we're back. It's just the best tune ever. Are we going to get nominated for an ARIA potentially?
I hope so.
I would.
It's on the cards.
It
It's on
is.
the
Put a
cards.
lot
It
of
is.
work into that.
A whole
Like-
5 to 10 minutes.
Look, we had to organise saying F, then I, then N, then N. It was
That,
tough.
that probably took the longest part. We're like, so you say F, I
What?
say N.
Is that how you spell Finn? Let me
It's
just...
2 N's, so it works well.
Does he have an E on there?
Now, guys, I don't
Fine.
want to get
You're
ahead.
fine.
Let's not get ahead of ourselves here. But when we win our ARIA,
We?
who collects the award? Yeah, well, I mean, you guys made it, but it's about me, so I think I
Do you
should be
feature
the
on the
one
track? Do you feature on the
I
track?
don't think so, mate.
Well, it's about me. You're using my likeness, so unless you
What,
want
you
to have a
gonna
legal
sue us?
battle, mate, I could do. If you're not gonna, if you're not gonna let me win my
Well,
ARIA,
we're going to
Well,
go
that's-
set up a Izzy Folau GoFundMe for this. So
That's how much friendship means to you, Finn.
friendship. We're talking about ARIAs, mate.
You're willing
Things
to...
that-
there's
You're,
no
as it
friendship
gets.
in the ARIA game.
you're
mate.
willing to sue us for a fake aria.
An ARIA
kill
that
or be-
doesn't exist.
It's kill or be killed in the ARIA game.
It certainly
so
is. Anyway, mate,
It's
I'll-
survival.
I was more thinking about Eurovision if we go into
Eurovision.
Eurovision. And then,
Hey, Mela
and then-
Heike, can we
and then-
swing on those big things?
and then we end up hosting Eurovision in Albion.
I think we're next for the Bachelor
Well,
host in Albion.
Albion.
I'll tell you what.
Pop
that's what
down
the
to Greg
people-
Chapel.
Greg Chapel Cricket Centre.
That's what the people want to see. They want to see
Exactly.
me on the sidelines at Eurovision. So
Exactly.
let's make it happen.
Also, why are Australia
Anyway.
in Eurovision? Like,
Not even Europe.
so odd. Anyway, how is Japan, my friend?
Mate, Japan's pretty good. It's been a pretty big week. Quarterfinal football.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, disappointing if you're an Australian though. And I guess you guys have used the word embarrassing before, but man, I just can't get over that performance.
Embarrassing
England
is an
didn't play.
understatement.
They didn't play particularly well, and
Still
no
put
one's
40
talking
points
about
on.
Was
yeah,
that
but I think Australia, they handed England about 14 to 21 points. As you said earlier, Gussie, off errors. So
Yeah.
there were 2 interceptions, and there were some other errors at the breakdown which led to those tries.
Yep.
So you take those away. It's 1916, and it's game on, and then Australia had a try disallowed pretty much on the siren.
What do you think about that as well? That try,
The one on the siren?
the one disallowed.
Yeah, I think it was a forward pass, wasn't it? I think that's what it's
Yeah.
called back for. Yeah, it was a fair call.
Yeah.
Fair
Yeah.
call. But yeah, you go, Campbell. You got your hand up. Very polite of
Yeah.
you.
Please, me. Was
Mr.
this?
Johnson.
Yes. Thank you. Was this one of Australia's worst ever performances?
Yes.
Would you say?
Yeah, by far.
I think the issue with Australia at this World Cup, though, and I'm sure you guys will agree, is they didn't have a halves combination picked from day one.
No.
In fact, 6 months ago, Leo Leofano wasn't necessarily in everyone's World Cup squads.
Nope.
So he's come from pretty much nowhere to sometimes starting, sometimes not being in the 23.
Yeah.
It's been a bit of a shambles, fellas. So it's not a surprise they didn't make it out. But they've got to be better in France in 2023.
It looked like we were underprepared.
Yeah.
It looked like we weren't ready for a World Cup, and we didn't have what it took to get any further.
Honestly, it looked like Checo was being lazy with A's selection and B. He just doesn't.
And the way he carried on after,
He was blaming the refs for everything.
yeah.
He wasn't looking at the squad going, okay, what are the actual issues we have here?
But he also deflected the blame to the board as well,
Yeah.
He did.
and selections.
Look,
And I
that's
thought that's really low to do that. You've got to take some responsibility for the way the team's performed. You can't just say, "Oh, I have no one to pick from." Like, look,
mate, there are some
you've got to work
massive
with
issues.
what you got.
Some massive issues there, though. You got the Vicar of Dibley, Raylene Castle.
Oh, Jesus.
The vicar, the vicar of Dibley's dead.
Jesus. What are we doing?
Anyway,
Continue.
Raylene Castle, the ARU chairwoman. There was a bit of a argument between her and Checker a few weeks ago. I think it was before or just after the Australia-Wales match, to the point where I think Castle was brought pretty much to tears. So
Gee whiz.
yeah, so it's unrest, and teams. Look, you've got a rugby team, and obviously they're important to winning matches, but it's an organisation. That's what it takes to win a World Cup. And mate, when there's so much, when there's a lack of trust like that, man, it doesn't surprise me that Australia have been this disappointing.
Yeah.
But like I said, preparation for 2023 starts. It started. At the full-time siren against England.
Yeah.
Checker, he deflected questions, rightly so, about what his future was, but then the next day resigned. Now it's searching for a new coach and starting to identify some players who might be in the conversation for 2023, like Harry Hockings, Harry Wilson, Fraser McWright, friend of the podcast.
Indeed. Patea's obviously going to be playing.
McDermott.
Tate McDermott.
Byron Ralston plays for the Western
Yeah.
Force. I used to play with him. Did I make him a better player? I'm just saying, I used to play with him. I used to play with Zach Steer.
I don't get
They're
what
both
happened.
professionals.
What went wrong with you is the problem.
Yeah.
I'm 5'7". There you go. That enough?
How
Well, I
tall
mean,
is Faf de Klerk?
Zach Steer wasn't very tall. Like, he's
No.
5'11" as well, isn't he?
Yeah, he is. I think
How
I
tall-
don't know. I don't have his height measurements in front of me.
Really?
Yeah.
Poor form. As
Yeah,
if you don't
no,
have it
I
written on the
can't-
wall.
Shame.
You don't have it written on the wall where you have your height and then you have Zach's height with a pencil.
Yeah. I actually email into all the places I'm staying at and specially ask that they'll have that ready for me when I walk in. But
Well,
no.
Wow, how
do
big is
we-
your ego?
Huge, mate. Huge.
Do we want to talk about the second game on the Saturday, which was New Zealand and Ireland?
1-1 quickly.
Ireland?
I want to talk about Finn's
Wait.
height because this is great. How tall are you in meters? Centimeters.
Telling the truth, or am I lying? Because if I'm lying,
Who measures
I'm about,
themselves?
Yeah, no, I
I'm
mean,
pushing 180. But if I'm being realistic, I'm 174.
Faf de Klerk is 172. What is your excuse?
I'm balding. I don't know.
He's not balding, so far from it.
He's not.
He's got that on you.
He has luscious locks, mate. I'm very envious.
He
Yeah.
Very
certainly
envious.
does. He certainly does. Anyway,
Um,
yeah, continue.
Yeah, continue on to
Gussie-
this New Zealand-Ireland game as well.
I'll talk about game 2 for as long as you want. How
No,
long have you
no
got?
thanks. Well, like 3 minutes? 2 minutes?
Okay.
Go.
That's all right.
Go.
Okay. No, mate. Ireland came to this tournament ranked as world number 1 for the first time ever. But they do what Ireland do. They peak too soon.
He's joking.
Girls, where's
No.
my choker?
Brian
I
O'Driscoll.
want to get into Fridays. Okay. Continue.
Where is my diamond-encrusted choker?
Go.
That's funny. Keep saying the same joke, Gussie, but alter it slightly to continue
Is
the
this
joke.
more exaggeration from
No.
the big man Finn?
Sarcasm. That's the word. Anyway.
Oh, sh-
Hold
Bro-
this L, please. Okay,
Brian
continue.
Shut up.
Brian O'Driscoll, as you guys know, Ireland Hall of Famer, great rugby player. he said last year in an interview that Ireland's issue will be that they peaked too soon, and that's what's happened. They peaked too early. They showed their hands, and mate, they didn't get close to New Zealand. And I'm biased, and I can easily say New Zealand looked like head and shoulders better than anyone else in this competition. If you go on that performance alone.
Was that a sponsored shout out there?
A what?
Head and Shoulders? Sponsored shout out?
Because you're bald.
Jesus. Now you're just being mean.
Okay, I'm going to keep going before I start crying.
Technically, you don't need it if you're bald because it's for shampooing your hair.
Yeah, you don't, but I was trying to save you the embarrassment, Jack Pack. Anyway, Ireland.
Boys,
also
1-2.
This is what we're
What's
all
your Jack?
about. Continue.
Ireland looked so disappointing, and I'm not sure if you guys watched it, but they couldn't catch a cold.
Yeah. Well, it was over by half
I
time,
did see
wasn't
that,
it?
yeah.
It was over by half time.
It was 22-0 at the half. New Zealand took the foot off the gas and let some late tries in. So, yeah, I mean, that's a mouth-watering clash in Yokohama on Saturday, England, New Zealand.
For sure.
Some have been saying, winner has to be favourites. Has to be favourites to do that. So I guess we'll see.
I'd say so.
Other side of the draw, guys. Did you see that red card? The French red card.
Yeah.
France, Wales. Yeah, try it.
Elbow.
Campbell. So what I want you to do is
Battering ram, boys.
sit right up close next to Gussie. Clock your arm.
I don't want it.
And then just straight into his jaw.
No. Stop.
Straight to his jaw. That's what,
Sounds weird.
That's a HR complaint waiting to happen.
That's hate.
Dude, we don't have
We have
HR.
HR. I'm HR.
We can't.
Literally.
Sebastian.
Medicare? Do you have
Yeah.
private
Continue.
health?
No, guys, that red card.
Yeah, but
Absolute stupidity. I can't get my head around it. France were up by 9 points at the time. Had an attacking maul about 7 metres out from the try line. If they score there, they probably would have won the game.
yeah.
And he decides to elbow UFC someone, Aaron Wainwright.
RKO him out
jaw.
of nowhere.
Yeah.
Just,
Mate, it's just stupidity. He apologised to his teammates as he walked off, but so what? What does that mean? And since he's 28 years old, but he's retired from international rugby. So to me, that's a player who apologised to his teammates, but they didn't accept it, and I can't blame them.
No.
You're playing in a World Cup, you're leading, you can't have a brain snap. It's silly.
Yeah.
Very, very silly. Very close game. Very thrilling, though.
Yeah.
Mate, it was
went
thrilling,
down to the
but
wire.
Look, France, they still should have won it. France, they had a attacking scrum 5 metres out from the Welsh try line. If it were me, I would have drop kick, 8 points clear with 5 minutes to go.
I mean,
that would have won the game.
Yeah.
But instead, they would, as France do, they decided, no, let's play for 7. So, silly stuff. But congratulations to the Welsh.
What about the last semi-final?
This was a great
The
game.
Blossoms.
The scoreline doesn't really reflect how good of a game it was, but that first half was so close, so tight. There was only one try in the game.
It's 5-3 at half time, I think.
Yes, it was.
The fairy tale comes to an end there.
Oh, no. I was
Mixed-
conflicted during this game.
Mixed feelings, mate, no doubt.
Very mixed feelings because obviously as a narrative and a story, I like Japan. Their play style was fantastic as well.
Oh, look, you'd have to be happy with the way Japan's performed in this World Cup.
As a journalist, Campbell?
Yeah, as a journalist, I just wanted the story. But, I mean, what I said before is Japan, it doesn't matter. They're happy if they win. They're happy if they lose.
Yeah.
Right? It's an achievement regardless.
Actually, I think it was the day after. There were reports that, again, these are just reports at the time of recording. There's no confirmation with this, but SANS are apparently meeting in Tokyo. Now, that's the representatives of South Africa, Australia, New Zealand, and Argentina. So basically, the guys who run the rugby championship.
Yeah.
They have one board together.
Potentially add someone in.
They met and they were apparently discussing bringing Japan into the rugby championship.
Ooh.
But on top of that, the Sunwolves, after 2020, were going to get cut from Super Rugby.
Yes, I did.
Again, the reports of this meeting was that they were going to rediscuss that and discuss keeping them in the competition. So
good. These are all good things.
It can't be one or the other for Japan.
Yeah.
If they want to succeed, they need to be in the
need to have
championship,
both.
but they also need the Sunwolves to stick around, so we'll see.
They certainly do. And is that the blueprint for those smaller nations going forward?
I think Japan would be quite lucky, almost. Teams like Uruguay, I don't know if they could get a run in Super Rugby other than a couple of players. So it's about having the money, having the backing.
Yeah.
And that's something Japan had, something they have, and something that other teams like Georgia, it's their national sport, but they just don't have the money.
Yeah.
Well, let's not forget it was a home World Cup. You're
Yeah.
obviously going to perform better than...
Yeah. Do you think
Yes
that
and
played
no,
much
mate.
into it, though?
Yeah, huge.
I don't know.
Would you say, Campbell?
Do you think that it was the fact that it was a home World Cup played into their success as much as their coaching?
I think it did, but I think credit where credit's due. Jamie Joseph did a fantastic job with the Cherry Blossoms.
Is he
I
one
think
of
we've
the...
spoken.
Sorry, go.
Sorry. Oh, we've spoken about it the last few weeks about how the Sunwolves A
Yes.
had been the Japanese team. That's a masterstroke, and it's something New Zealand, Australia, the Tier 1 teams can't afford to do.
They can't. They really
But it was
can't.
a brilliant move. And the fact, you're right, Gussie, home World Cup, that comes into it. But, mate, they almost played the crowd. The crowd didn't matter. When they played Ireland and Scotland, they dominated.
Yeah.
They dominated.
Is Jamie Joseph potentially one of the best coaches in the world?
I think, look, at the end of the year, the World Rugby Awards night,
I think he
Player
might
of the
win
Year
it.
for me. Player of the Year for me is going to go to Bowden Barrett. That's an
Yep.
early tip. But Coach of the Year, Jamie Joseph,
Mhm.
I think, should go to him. But that being said, depends on who wins this tournament.
Yeah.
So if New Zealand win, it might not be enough for Steve Hansen to win it.
Yeah.
That being said, if they smash their way and just absolutely dominate these next two games, he'll win it.
Yeah.
Same thing with Wales, Warren Gatland. If they win it, he might get it
Yeah.
because Wales have never done it before. But
Yeah.
I think, yeah,
Yeah. Well, this
he's definitely in the conversation,
well,
mate. So.
this is what annoys me about Michael Checker so much. Look at the selection pool that Australia has.
In comparison.
How
yeah.
are we so terrible in comparison to Japan? Yes, their coaching's great. Yes, they've got it. They stick together. But our population rugby population is
Yeah.
much higher. Everything with the resources
Well,
we put into it will be higher
This
too.
Australian side would not have beaten Japan.
I don't think so either.
No.
I don't think so.
I don't think they would
to
have
be
gone
look,
close.
I think they would. I think they would have only because Japan play like New Zealand.
Yes.
They play a very southern hemisphere style of play,
Mm-hmm.
but not necessarily with the depth that New Zealand have.
Yeah.
But Australia and as South Africa showed last week, they're ready for that type of rugby.
Yeah.
And if you play it against a team who are ready for it, just as South Africa did, you're going to have a rough day out. So I don't think Australia would have beaten them. I think Australia would have beaten them, but in a few years we might be having a different conversation. But I think something we've also got to consider is schoolboy talent.
Yeah.
So players coming out of GPS schools, going to
over.
league,
Mhm.
going to league, going to AFL even. There's a bit of that.
Yeah.
Or even players like Valentine Holmes.
Yeah.
Gone
He didn't
to
want to
AFL.
play. He's gone to the NFL.
But
I
he's
get that,
coming
that's
back.
great.
He's potentially coming back. Is that
I think-
confirmed
yeah,
or is
yeah.
it?
No,
Yeah,
that's
I
not
think-
confirmed.
I don't think it's confirmed.
I
There-
think it's
there were-
literally just about to
No.
be confirmed in the
There-
next.
So
there
it's
were-
not
couple days.
confirmed yet.
I think he got on
So-
a plane back though.
It's
I
a
think he's
yes
having
or a no.
talks.
No,
He's got on a plane back to.
So he's in talks to go
He's in
back to the
talks,
Cowboys. Well,
yeah.
go to the
It's-
Cowboys.
They've considered. They've tabled a $1 million offer for 4 years, so $4 million, I believe.
Mhm.
I
Yeah.
might not be exactly
Look,
right with that, but
I forgot who posted about it, but someone posted on Instagram saying Valentine. I think it was the Daily
Confirmed.
Telegraph, someone like that,
Yeah.
saying Valentine Holmes is apparently meeting with the North Queensland Cowboys in New York tonight.
Yeah. I was in the office at work and a popular Brisbane sports journalist that you guys know on Triple M was saying that it was pretty much done as well. But
But that being said, look, Valentine Holmes, he commented on that Instagram post saying, "Don't know what this is about. I'm going to the game tonight." Of course, referring to the New York Jets against the mighty, formidable New England Patriots.
And how well did that go for the Jets?
He probably left at halftime, so he had time to make that meeting. So
Probably.
mate, seeing ghosts.
Exactly.
Seeing goes.
Exactly.
No, but it's boys, we've got great rugby coming ahead.
Certainly
Wales,
do.
South Africa. I think we've been very lucky, unlike World Cups previous, that the best 4 teams are in the semi-finals.
Yeah.
That being said, I think New Zealand, England
Mm.
are the top 2 clearly. Then you got South Africa,
Then Wales.
and then you've got a bit of daylight, and then you've got Wales.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, for sure.
Well,
still
all-
the best 4 teams in the world.
All
so.
of our tips are still in this competition. So Campbell went with South Africa,
Yes.
you went with the Kiwis, and I went with England.
Mhm.
So me or Finn, one of us is going to get it wrong.
Yeah.
Finora.
Whatever,
Yeah.
mate. One of us is going to get it
Yeah.
wrong.
However,
Just gotta get it wrong.
I do think you were right. I do think England are probably the second best team in this.
Yeah.
In
Well,
this one, you were right. You were better. You were right about that.
But I do want to say this too. 2 years ago, when World Rugby drew the pools, I went through the pool stages, and 2 years ago I said this would be the final four, and I said New Zealand Wales final. So I'm going to stick by that.
You're
But
the
again,
oracle, aren't you?
I'm Nostradamus. I've said it before, mate, and it's a blessing, not a curse. But it's what you do with it.
Exactly.
We'll see what happens on Saturday.
And Sunday.
And Sunday. That's it for Finn in Japan.
Yes.
We will move on.
Come onto the shores. Come onto the shores. We've got
Well,
NRC.
We've only got one more of those. So
We do.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
you know,
sad
we've
times.
next week it's got to be a big one.
Yeah.
We've got to live
Bring
it up.
it.
There might
Really
be
gotta
Go
bring it.
out like firing.
Yeah.
a few tears from Gussie maybe, but
Yep.
let's
So-
go. Let's finish it off with a smile on our faces.
Indeed, we got the NRC. We had the semi-finals this weekend. 2 fantastic games, really close games. We had Canberra play the Fijian Drua, who somehow got there after beating Queensland Country last minute. And then we also had, what was the other game? Western Force versus Brisbane City.
Yeah.
Great game on both points.
Oh, two
The Force.
unbelievable games. Two
Look.
unbelievable games of rugby.
Canberra beat Fiji by 1, and the Force beat City by 4. So in a way, it's exactly what you want from a competition.
Yep.
2 high-scoring
Especially-
games too.
Yeah, especially as you said, Campbell, Fiji very lucky to be in the finals after beating Queensland Country.
Mm-hmm.
So if Queensland Country had held Fiji out in that, the final few minutes in that game,
Who
you
knows?
couldn't say Queensland Country wouldn't have done something very, very similar
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
against the Vikings. So.
I said last week that this will be one on defense. Maybe it's going to be one on attack.
Why is that?
I reckon whoever scores the most points in this is like I know this is
Yeah,
an obvious
obviously.
statement, but
Hey, Finn,
It's
whoever
go
scores
on.
the most points, it wins in this sport.
I just think it's not going to be.
That's another
it's,
beyond the sidelines hot
it's
take.
not-
There you go.
It's not going to be. I said it was obvious.
Sorry,
It's not going to be a
continue.
low-scoring game.
No.
After what we've seen so far this year.
I think Western Force are
So
the
wait.
highest scoring team in the comp.
Yeah, and
So, Gussie, wait. If there are a lot of points scored, it's not going to be a high-scoring game. That's what you're saying.
what?
That's what you're saying.
I said there's going to be a lot of points scored, and it's going to be a high-scoring game.
Mm. So a lot of points scored, and it won't be a low-scoring game.
Mate, are
That's
you
what
on
you're saying.
crack?
Continue before we get in trouble. Go.
Jeez. Okay. Anyway, well, it is the Western Force against the Canberra Vikings. What are we tipping for this one, boys?
It's got to be Force.
Yeah.
It's got to be the Force. For me.
I'm going to go Canberra.
Like to be a
I'm going
renegade,
to go
do
Canberra.
you?
Just because he's not playing, he's not in the 23. I think he's injured. But Darcy Swain, former BBC old boy, fellow old boy, I might add. He's the captain of Canberra, so it'd be cool to see him lift the shield after the match. But I think, man, the Force have been good, eh?
Yeah.
They've been very
I'm,
good.
Very, very good.
I'm going to go for the Force as well. They have been good all competition.
just-
You're not supporting your
We need-
hometown.
Canberra, no. It's,
You're a really
He likes thinking
unloyal
about that, man.
bloke.
Look, they can be my moral, if they win, I won't be disappointed.
It's been a good, rugby month for the old month or two
For Canberra.
Canberra.
It has. Well, the Brumbies were the
Mhm.
best performing Australian Super Rugby side. You've got Canberra who made it to the grand final in the
The
NRL,
Milk.
and you've got
Their
the Canberra
twos.
Vikings.
The twos for the
The Canberra Jersey Flegg side also made it to the grand final. I mean,
Jeez,
they've
it's
had some tough grand finals.
Lots of losses.
I'll tell you what, Gussie, you should move back.
Yeah, jump on the Canberra bandwagon.
Up the milk.
Stay there for a while.
It's a terrible place to
I
live.
like it. My mate lives there. Anyway,
Yeah, there's a reason why all the Englishmen have moved over to Canberra. Because
Yeah,
it's
okay.
like,
it's cold.
yeah, it's cold, but like, I mean,
Lot of
they're
rain.
used to bad weather. So
This is
Don't
true.
need rain dances down there. No.
yeah, exactly.
This is true. Are we moving on?
Yep, we're going on to Bulls Masters cricket now,
Cricks.
boys.
Let's
Love
do
the
it.
cricks. Right. So we've had a bit of rain recently in Brisbane, boys. Good news for most people, but not for lovers of cricket. It's been a few washout. I don't know what you boys are doing off camera, but it's really disturbing. Lots of that was the weirdest thing I've ever seen.
We
in my
like
life.
to distract Gussie while he's reading.
So weird.
Go.
Right.
I think it worked.
No. What were you gonna say?
Exactly what I just said. I think it worked.
Yeah, you've distracted me.
Go.
I can't get it out of my head. It was horrible.
You're scarred.
Right, Toowoomba defeated Ipswich Logan And it was a day for the bowlers in this one, with 4 wickets to Harrison Wood from the Hornets side. Toowoomba all out for 141, defeated by Ipswich Logan 5 for 143. UQ defeated by Gold Coast. The baby Bash brother Max Bryant scored a quick fire 71 off 45 balls.
Good on him.
Including 9 fours and 4 sixes. And I assume those sixes were ginormous because that kid can pretty much hit him out of the gabba. Michael Phillipson's 86 not out was not quite good enough for UQ in this game. They went down 10 for 249, beaten by Gold Coast 7 for 268. We'll go on to the Sheffield Shield now.
Love some Shield.
Yeah.
Up the Shield.
Right. New South Wales.
Smudge, mate. Smudge. Smudge.
Smudge.
Just talk about Smudge. Is that all we're going to talk about?
The Smudge
Right.
Shield.
Okay. Steve Smith
It's
scored
what-
another 100.
It's what the people want, Gussie.
Yeah, he scored another ton. He's been brilliant this year. This purple patch has just continued for how long? 5 years?
Yeah, he's been probably the best player in the world, apart from his gap year. He took.
Probably, definitely.
His little gap year. His little gap year in
sabbatical.
Sydney.
Yeah. Little bit of time off.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mitchell Stark was also back to his wicket-taking form. He took 10 wickets in the match. First innings, 5 for 40 and 5 for 20 in the second. So he's back, knocking some stumps out. Queensland got a win over South Australia by 4 wickets. Marnus Labuschagne. I'm going to say it like that, Campbell.
Don't you dare say it. I will murder you.
Of course, South African. Marnus Labuschagne. Okay, can I just say this? Finn is actually going to the toilet on camera.
He's come out. He's come out.
They're trying to put me off.
Anyway, continue. Marnus.
So
sorry.
Marnus Labuschagne
Labuschagne.
with the bat and Michael Neeser with the ball were outstanding for Queensland. They defeated, of course, South Australia by 4 wickets. Western Australia, after a strong first innings, helped by Sean Marsh's 214 runs, helped WA to a mammoth first innings score, and they defeated Victoria by 9 wickets. The WBBL, it started, and already we've had plenty of games. I won't have time to cover all of them, but what you need to know...
How many games, Gussie?
Well, there has been... I can't count. At
2.
least 20.
He was
Look,
never very good at maths.
No.
So
I
makes sense.
did the one above Prevoc. What's that? Masse. I did
Me
Masse.
too, mate. Me too.
Yeah.
Hey, up
hell
top.
yeah.
My hands are sweaty,
Hands
but
are
there we
so
go.
sweaty. Right.
There's
There's a reason I'm doing journalism, so
Yeah.
yeah,
Anyway,
I did it too.
Yes. This is the Mass A podcast. Here we go.
Hobart Hurricanes are on top of the WBBL ladder, with the Renegades and Heat following behind.
Shout out to former Brisbane Heat player Josie Dooley for the Renegades. She's moved over and taken them up the ladder, so good on them.
Yes. Well, that's it for Cricks this week.
And
That is correct. That's stumped.
Next on the
That's
next on the maths.
Brilliant.
Next on the Maths A podcast, who wants to speak about algebra? Not us.
Not us. Let's talk about
I
how
know
to
what a
calculate the angle of a roof.
What's the perimeter?
How did you get
of-
into architecture?
You don't need a maths to do it.
What?
It's maths.
You just need to know ratios. I know what a ratio is.
I know what a
it's
ratio.
pretty. What's
Anyway, we've got to move on. Let's talk about sport.
pi
All right.
times?
Anyway,
So he's not
let's
very-
go before you embarrass yourself. We've got football.
He's not very good at maths, and he's not very good with words.
Oi,
so
I got
he's-
street
yeah.
smarts.
I've got street smarts. We're talking about
That's what all
football.
dumb people.
We had the
say.
FFA Cup final, boys. 4-0 to Adelaide United.
What about the strikers? How far did they get?
Semi-final, mate. You weren't there.
Yeah.
I was with the biggest fan over here,
Yeah. Turn in.
Mr. Bandwagon.
I'm not a bandwagon, boys.
You are.
Gus, it must make you feel better knowing that Adelaide, the eventual champions, beat your boys. So your
Yeah.
side lost to the eventual champions.
Yeah,
So
Sydney.
really, if you didn't get drawn with Adelaide, you could have been the runners-up.
Exactly.
for United.
Your mighty Olympic FC.
Mm.
Who
Yeah,
knows?
shame
And
they
the-
didn't. They probably would have won the final. as well,
Yeah. We saw an excellent first goal by Al Hassan Toure, which we'll talk about later. But we've got the
Absolute
A-League as
filth.
well. We got the A-League. It's been, 2 games? Is
Yeah,
it week 2?
it's been 2 games, and the Phoenix are doing what the Phoenix do. Good to see them at the bottom of the pile.
For
Who
sure.
would have thought the Western Sydney Wanderers would be doing as well as they're doing?
They're not running away with it, but they're certainly doing better than I thought they would. Mr. Western Sydney over here.
Okay, what can you like? You can't read. You can't read too much into early season form, though. Not in the
can't.
A League.
No.
It's such a long season, and yeah, truth will be in the pudding in a few weeks.
Yeah,
so.
well, the Sydney sides are going absolutely brilliantly right now.
Berserk.
And what the opposite can be said about the Melbourne teams, right?
Well, Melbourne City got a win.
Did they? But the victory then.
The
They-
victory.
they drew.
Yeah.
They drew with Western United, which I'm liking
you
that
what,
little story going on.
When's the Big Blue?
The Big Blue. I don't know when the
Big
Big
Blue.
Blue is. What
The
round
distance
are we
derby.
talking?
That's what we want to see.
I have no idea. Was the last week's game at GMHBA? I
Oh,
think it
no.
was.
Western Sydney
no.
Wanderers, Sydney FC's next week.
Actually, no, the funny story about that. Did you guys hear about Perth and their mishap with Qantas?
No. What happened?
Qantas lost their home kits, so Perth had to play in their training jerseys.
Oh God.
Look what
PK
shirt
League.
I'm wearing.
Oh my God.
No,
Literally wearing
I'm wearing a Qantas shirt right now, not a sponsor.
no,
Wish.
the Perth training jersey, obviously, mate.
Yeah.
It didn't.
Yeah. That,
No,
that-
but
that's just about as embarrassing as when the Raw lost their numbers on their shirts when they were
Yeah.
playing in the
How
Asian
do you
Champions League.
lose your numbers?
They came off.
Yeah,
They fell
they
off.
came.
Jesus.
They came on with tape and started taping numbers.
Yeah, that is embarrassing.
They picked a
But
bad
no,
glue.
fellas, it's just peak A League.
Yeah.
There's no other way to say it. It's peak A League.
Yeah.
I really want to love this competition. In fact, I love that I hate
Yeah.
it. I hate that I love it. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, of course, I'll rattle through the results quickly. Western Sydney Wanderers defeated Melbourne Victory. That was a very surprising result.
Oh, for sure.
We had Western United and Perth Glory drawing. Central Coast Mariners.
Again, I
and
think
Newcastle.
that was the first game at
Yeah, I've-
GMHBA. But yeah,
was.
continue.
Yeah. Central Coast Mariners and Newcastle Jets drawing. Melbourne City defeating Adelaide United 2-1. And Sydney FC defeating Finns Wellington Phoenix 2-1.
The Phoenix
No.
look like they're looking like they want a spoon.
Actually, they did sign they signed Gary Hooper the other day.
Yes, they
actually.
did. They did.
I was
He-
so
he-
surprised by that.
He
Me
used to
too.
play for Celtic and Norwich.
Norwich, yeah.
This is true, by the way. I remember playing FIFA 12, FIFA 13 on my
Mhm.
phone, playing career mode,
Dude, Gary Hooper.
and literally I was coaching Liverpool, and I was looking at young players to sign, and I
Yeah.
remember him. So I signed him
Yeah.
as my main striker.
What was his potential? Do you know?
Can't remember,
It'd be
mate,
like-
but yeah, can't remember.
Dude,
But
Gary Hooper absolutely bangs them in. He is
He-
quality.
He's a good
he's actually a
striker.
good player, so it's a good pickup for the
They got him
Phoenix
from
is-
Sheffield Wednesday, didn't they? Or Sheffield,
Yeah, I think
one of
so.
the
I think
Sheffields.
so. One of them.
It's just a shame that he's going to be playing alongside development players and stuff, because the Phoenix, aside from him, they're not overly professional.
Well, they're
That's-
all playing for
that-
Western United now, mate. So
Look, I don't think he'll touch
Jeez.
much football.
You know how to hurt me, don't you, Campbell?
yeah, mate.
Thanks, mate.
Yeah, no problem, mate. Anyway, boys, I thought we'd do something a little bit different just to round us off. We've got a kind of, while we're on A-League, we've got our kind of, well, while we're on football, it's our kind of player to watch for, well, who we've liked and who we think maybe be doing a good job in the future. Who have you guys picked? Who have you picked, Gussie?
Well, I've gone for Panagiotis Kone.
The Western United man,
Yep, I hope I pronounced that right.
the Greek boy.
Yeah, he's a great Greek footballer. He plays midfield for Western United. He actually scored their first goal at their new stadium as well.
Did he?
Yeah, really dynamic midfield player. He's played for quality European sides, including Athens, Bologna, Udinese, Fiorentina, and Granada. Just to name a few. That's
He's getting a pretty good resume.
yeah, exactly.
Well, now he's adding Western United to it, the
Oh,
legend.
What an ending to that resume. He was a member of the Greek national side as well that played in the 2014 World Cup in Brazil. And he brings tons of experience to this Western United side. In their first season, they're going to need it.
He certainly does, and so does Alessandro Diamante. He's probably been one of their best
Yes,
players so
yeah.
far. But who did you pick, Finn?
I'm going last, mate.
You're going last. Oh, we did speak about this. Well, I'm going for probably the story, other than the strikers, the story of the FFA Cup. Youngster, 19 years old. What month were you born in, Gussie?
I was November
2000? No, 99? Finn?
January 2000.
Same here. This guy's younger than us, boys. He's born
really?
in May of 2000. His name is Al Hassan Torre, number
Jeez.
35.
That makes you feel good.
It really does. It makes you feel like you're doing a lot with your life. He's,
Really need to go for that run now.
Yeah, he's of Liberian and Guinean descent. He scored the first goal of this final in the Adelaide United game, so he plays for Adelaide United. He scored 5 goals in 5 games in the FFA Cup. So not
Wow.
bad at all.
Not a bad
as a
strike rate.
19-year-old.
That's pretty good.
Very, very good. He was probably the story of the cup. He cried during the game.
Oh, wow.
So he got the first goal, which was a really good goal down the wing. Didn't think it was going to go in, but it did.
Well, that
Went on
shows,
the near side of the
that
keeper.
shows he's got the passion as well.
Yeah, he also showed really good hold-up play. He was playing as a striker.
Yeah.
He showed really good hold-up play to then feed a ball through that led to a Ben O'Halloran goal. He also won Player of the Match in that final, the Mark Viduka medal.
Wow.
Mark Viduka
As a
medal.
19-year-old,
Yes, he did.
that's pretty unbelievable.
He certainly did. He scored his first goal in the 25th minute of that game. Climbed the stairs in a Liberian flag. What else has he done? This season in the A-League, so to watch out for him. He's played 95 minutes over these first 2 games, first 2 games I think they've played. 1 start, so he probably started this second game. 1 goal. So 1 goal in 2 games, 50% conversion rate as well off his shots. Was with his left foot, and the one in the FFA Cup that I saw was with his right foot, so he's pretty
Can do
nifty
it
with
all.
both feet. He's really exciting and really cool to watch. He's one of those kind of teenage prodigies. See how he goes. But I'll be interested to see how he
a
goes.
one to watch in
Certainly.
FIFA 20.
Certainly.
Guys, it's pretty refreshing to see a player care that much too.
Yeah, exactly. He was
Yeah.
crying. He was in tears. It was great to see.
But I guess use their emotion in a way that reflects positively.
Yes.
You see it more in a negative sense where players start lashing out and getting red cards, but that's great to see.
It was really emotional at the time. But anyway, who is your player? I think I have an idea. It's
Well, I don't think you do, mate.
Is he from
I don't think
Gussie's
you do.
favourite side?
No, it's not.
Oh, it's
From
not. Okay. Dude, pray tell.
Favorite side, but post bandwagon.
No, mate. Please.
Please.
No, guys.
Please.
Because I was going to say Fraser Hills, but then I thought against it. But I will talk about Fraser Hills just quickly.
Yes.
Michael Cockrell medal for 2019. That's the NPL Player of the Year in the FFA Cup. So not NPL Queensland, NPL National. So that's a really, really impressive feat for him. He's quite young too, but he was down there at in Adelaide yesterday for the FFA Cup where he got presented with it. So congratulations to him.
Good on him.
He also won Strikers Player of the Year. So again, credit where credit's due. But no, well, he could be someone to look out for, and possibly an A-League club might pick him up. I think the Mariners could do worse. To be honest,
for
but
sure.
There you go.
He'll get his shot.
But no, the player I'm going to go with, who I think can take that next step, or has at least shown promise throughout the FFA Cup campaign, Bon Scott.
Bon Scott.
No one's-
Nice.
that-
Yes.
That's why I
I
wanted to go last.
Completely
That's why I
forgot.
wanted to go last. That's why I
Yeah,
wanted to go last.
nice.
Because
Our
I
boy.
wanted to make. That's why I wanted to make sure that you guys either, don't love him as I thought you guys did. Maybe you're fake fans.
Oh,
Or-
don't
How dare you?
How dare you say that I'm a fake fan?
How dare you?
Go.
How dare you? I'm his mother.
How dare you?
Your moves are weak. Continue. Continue.
What do you
Bonnie
mean we're not
Scott.
fam anymore?
Okay, let's get back on track. Bon Scott,
No,
our saviour.
Our saviour. Yeah, what can't he do? But what he does really, really well is stand between the sticks and stop footballs from hitting the back of the net. So, Campbell, the highlight has to be that performance against Wellington where he got man of the match.
Yep.
Biggest game of their FFA Cup campaign.
Certainly,
I'd say.
certainly. He got a few man of the matches as well.
He did.
He's
but this
really
is,
good.
Again, I think the pick of the bunch. Like, that saving extra time. At the time, I was in mixed minds, wanting Wellington to score, but that was so clutch.
He saved
Oh,
multiple
so clutch.
penalties that game.
He was quality throughout the whole competition.
He was, mate.
Even when they were on the back foot, they were down by a few goals. He was still pulling off quite unbelievable saves.
That's the thing about him. He's quite athletic and agile, and he makes those kind
He
of
is.
acrobatic saves that you're like,
Well-
holy, how did you make that? Sometimes some of the easier goals go in, but a lot of the time that can be due to your defense and just those kind of things. It's often not an easy goal, but the one that doesn't warrant a fantastic save. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He was pulling off some saves from shots which were quite literally 3 or 4 meters in front of him.
Yeah.
And he did it consistently.
Yes.
And I'd go as far to say, look, again, Fraser Hill's Player of the Year, Bon Scott won Players Player of the Year, and rightly so. I mean, if it weren't for him, they would not have gone as far as they did in the FFA Cup.
I think he won Fans Player of the Year too. Did he?
He did too. He
did.
won both of them. Of course he did.
Of course he did. Ever in doubt?
No, of course not. Exactly. How many times did you vote?
Twice.
Yeah, that's cute. That's cute.
You were on there all day. You're like,
all day.
I
was like, maybe he'll come on.
I bought a
maybe
bot
he'll come on the
to
podcast
do it
now.
constantly.
I bought 10 more Apple iPhone 11s.
And again, we can talk this bloke up, but I mean, quite seriously, think about what he's done. If it weren't for him, they wouldn't have gone that far in the FFA Cup. If they didn't go that far in the FFA Cup, would they have got that backing from that Chinese company?
Maybe not.
Who knows?
Seriously, because I
would say not.
Otherwise, they're just another average NPL team. Because I mean, I think they came 4th or 5th.
Yeah.
In the NPL,
exactly.
So that's not going to get you sponsorships.
I want to see him in the A-League.
So bad.
One day,
so,
mate.
so bad. One day.
One day.
Anyway, I think that's stumps, boys. I think that's time.
Wow.
That's stumps.
I know,
you said that once, and now you can't stop saying it.
I know, because it works so well.
It does.
Anyway, guys, if you haven't followed us already, please give us a follow on Instagram. It's @_beyond the sidelines. Oh wait, is it _beyond the sidelines?
_beyond the sidelines.
Beyond the sidelines _. What,
No, _beyond the sidelines _ for Instagram.
He's
there
got
we
it.
go.
Yep.
There we go. He's got it down pat. Facebook is just Beyond the Sidelines. YouTube's also Beyond the Sidelines. You can find us wherever you get your podcast, basically. We're on anything like YouTube, Facebook, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. Anyway, please give us ratings as well. We'd love that. But yeah, let us know if you've enjoyed the episode. Let us know if there's anything you'd like to see, anyone you'd like to see. But yeah, any last words?
Anyone they'd like to hear.
What did I say? See?
See.
Yeah, here. That's what a podcast is.
You need to get Grammarly, mate. You need to.
We're not sponsored by them. Stop doing ad reads. Anyway, any last words, boys?
Check out Grammarly.
Check out Grammarly. Michael does his work. Anyway, cheers for listening.